Hello, everyone, and welcome back. And look, another Halloween film. But not just any film, the most recent reboot to the series. This is great. Now, I got no problem with the original series and even the weird offshoot that was done with Halloween 3, and Rob Zombie did a great job. But this film right here, this remake, which by the way has two more sequels in the works, one coming next year for Halloween, was great. Not only does it return to form, but it brings back Jamie Lee Curtis. Even, believe it or not, John Carpenter himself was involved in the film. He, along with his son and another composer, were also involved with the score. It has that great feel. Sorry. It's a little cold where we are. And when the undead get cold, we gotta live with it. But what can I say about a movie like this? It does everything right. It introduces such great character design, moments, and there's a great deal of homages to the original Halloween. It's both technically a sequel and a bit of a reboot in the same point. And it's just called Halloween. Now that's not a bad point right there because the original movie was called John Carpenter's Halloween, and even the Rob Zombie films have Rob Zombie over the Halloween titles. And believe it or not, those are not bad films. I might review them later on. But I felt this film right here was worth it. This came out last year during Halloween, so it was perfect. And by the way, I've seen this. The stylized, everything that was done here was perfect. I even learned that Nick Castle, the original Michael Myers himself, the Shape, has actually been brought in to do certain things as Michael Myers. So even Michael Myers reprised his role for the film. So that's three big creative people behind the film. Now, unfortunately, they did choose another actor to do the predominant stuff, and I understand why. None of these people are getting any younger, so I totally understand. And I also think Nick has a lot of his own stuff. He's actually a pretty good filmmaker, too, by the way. But this film works so well. Not only do they capture the spirit of the original, but they are also able to do a few cool things that I think Carpenter would have loved to have done if he had, the time, the money, and the technology. They use Steadicams. And the cool part is, they really did a good job giving us these characters. And by the way, I've watched this in both 4K and in normal Blu-ray, and it is so beautiful. It is so well done. The music is perfect. The characters are well done. Even the detail in the aged Captain Kirk mask. Yes, that's right. It was a Captain Kirk mask that was responsible for the original Halloween film. I mean, just look at that. Who would have thought my Captain Kirk would make a great serial killer? Just works good. Now, they did recreate it a little bit and de-aged it. And even in the special features, they admit to using a Captain Kirk mask. And that's pretty damn cool. I don't care who you are. And I'll be fair, Universal, they have a history with this film series. Universal's had quite a few of the films under their license. It makes sense. 2 is still sold quite a few times as just Halloween 2 under Universal. Now, I understand why Universal got in on this. It was a great idea. And even one of the people that was responsible for the financing of the film, I believe one of his sons and stuff, also helped with the production of this film. But where does the plot go? Well, here's what we do know. This film literally picks up like 40 or so years later after the events of the first film. Literally the first film. That's the only one that has stayed in this particular new universe canon's timeline. This means we're getting a new take on everything. Now, I'll be fair. H2O, Resurrection, they were not bad films. I didn't particularly like Resurrection, but H2O was a good film. It worked good. It was a good ending for that series. But this film works perfectly. Basically, he was caught that night. Loomis had done it. It was perfect. The way that film ended was perfect because you don't know what is going on. And there's a great ending like this, similar to that. You don't know what's going to happen. And there are just certain things. If you recall in the original, there's a scene with an eye and I think a sewing needle. They actually keep damage from that in the film. You'll actually see the eye a different color and scars and stuff. Perfect. It's just so well. Now, I've heard some people actually complain this is just in my circles. I don't know if it's anybody else, that you see too much of his face. You don't. This guy who they hired, he did not have his face on display all the time. It wasn't on full display. They never showed his face completely and fully. You get these hints of his face, these parts, but never the full thing. And it just works. Now, I am going to be fair. It is a lot more bloody and a lot more gruesome than the original film ever was. But that's not a bad thing, actually. However, here's the thing that you should remember. How they did it was interesting. Now, they do have a few moments where you see some really great gore and some great stuff, but it's usually the after effects. We never actually really see too many scenes where he's really shoving the knife in people and stuff. There's occasions, but not when it's a really important kill or we'll find what's left of a body. I think it's great. There was a great deal of making sure that they built up the film, that they also stayed true to the original film's spirit and design and function. And that was something that I feel very happy with because it's very good. And like I said, homages. They did a lot of them, and sometimes they twisted them. This is what I think made the film so good, is that they really did a very good job. And I've heard some people actually complain this isn't Michael Myers. I'm like, no, this is Michael Myers, okay? And Michael is still a human being. He's incredibly powerful, dangerous, pure evil, like Loomis said, but he is still human. He can still be hurt. He can still be knocked unconscious. And this has been one thing that's been through the whole series. He's still human. Even in this one, he is still human. And we see that. We see the effects. We even see him, contemplating things. And there's even a little bit of a funny nature. There's certain things he does that he did in the original film that he does again. Almost like he's taunting us. I can't really explain it too much. Michael hasn't changed too much except for the fact that he's been, back in the cells at Smith's Grove. He's definitely been more contained. He's much more of a serious threat than they thought he would be. And then there's, of course, Laurie. Laurie is so different in this one now, but I think Jamie Lee Curtis had a blast playing this character. First of all, she's gone almost Sarah Connor on people. She's become survivalist. I mean, when you think about it, she's like one of the few survivors of this night. She had no other choice. And of course, she had a daughter, and she lost some of her marriages, and her daughter got taken away from her. When you see her house, you realize this is a woman who is ready for war. This is like freaking Sarah Connor and Ellen Ripley rolled into one. And, they've got an alien / Terminator and a human, for crying out loud. It made perfect. And the fact that you have them being so unique. You have Michael actually being very intelligent. And that's the other thing. He is intelligent. He's mute. He doesn't talk, but he's very intelligent. And he's not what I would call this super great evil. He doesn't go around and just, like Jason would and just slash, 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 slash. He's much more of a silent, opportunistic predator, both in the original film, especially in this one. He's calculating, cautious, even stealthy. And he doesn't just go all willy-nilly killing people. What also made this cool is that he's always been kind of what I would call fixated on certain targets. And he generally tends to ignore other people except for those targets. And, if there's somebody in the way, that's a different story. And we actually see that in one particular sequence with a gas station. The part where in the trailers he's dropping the teeth and that lady's in a stall. That, by the way, is in its own nostalgic and callback to H2O, I believe, as I recall. Yeah, where he stole some chick's car, but he didn't hurt her or her daughter. But in this one, these were people who had kind of crossed him, so it made sense. But again, they imply stuff. They never totally show everything. It was perfect. And it just works so well. He's in fact, he's following them. He's studying them. He's watching them. We see them at the at his sister's gravesite, and again, sorry, and he's there watching them as they do this dumb podcast thing. I mean, I don't want to insult anybody who does podcasts. It's not my thing. But wow, he's just focused like, they're there. Ooh. And it works so well. There's also just other little things he's done that were totally awesome. There's this, I'm just going to say this. There's a head and a flashlight. Just, jack-o'-lantern kind of a thing with a head. That's about all I'm going to say. Let you figure it out, or if you've seen the movie, you're like, okay, I know what he's talking about. The film builds on these levels. You have these characters. You have the relationships going on with the characters, including Laurie's granddaughter. So you have this 3-point generation that is going to have to deal with Michael Myers. And that in its own right creates a hell of a statement. And I watched this movie all the way to the end credits. Now, there isn't a post-credit scene, but if you watch all the way to the credits and you listen, you might just get something. Because it's clear Michael isn't dead. We don't know quite what's going on, but this movie was very good. And I mean this too. The characters that they have in this movie are very well done. You have Laurie's granddaughter who's trying to bring the family back together. You have Laurie who's still trying to protect everyone and is almost absent-minded. Then you have the daughter who's like, I don't want to deal with any of this. And you have those three dynamics, and yet, all in all, you then have this force that's going to make them go, oh, crap. And then you have other forces. You have another character that's been introduced who was actually there to arrest Michael, I think twice. And he's like, no, if I see this dude, I'm going to shoot him. You've got the new Loomis, which I don't particularly like this character at all. And, it's just some of the things he says. I found this movie to have these great moments of these incredible character growth, these strong moments, these funny moments, and even some of the deaths were just creative. And I love the fact that you have some characters like, oh, I'm sorry, man, this isn't my night, stuff like that. There was a real development in these characters, and I think it worked so well. Not every film can do that. And yet, it did its own thing, and it still paid homage to the original. It's, like I said, it's kind of a sequel reboot at the same time. This is what makes it work. You also had people who loved Halloween making this. They understood Halloween. They did a very good job. You had Jamie Lee Curtis come back, for crying out loud. And you know what I found out? The film was only about $10 million to produce and make. I mean, it probably had like another $30 million just for advertising, but it made over $200 million. So these are movies that don't cost a super huge amount of money to make. They're not Avenger level, budgets. Even crazy effects films like freaking, Conjuring don't even cost a super huge amount. I think the most expensive one was The Conjuring 2, I think at $40 million, but, most of them are 10 to 20 million. And so just on a profit point of view, they made it. And they were able to play around so well. They were able to do so much. It looked so damn good. It looked so damn real and impressive. And just the touches from these actors and actresses. And John Carpenter's score, along with his son and this other composer, the score they did was just perfect. They even went back to electric keyboards like he did. It was just great. They brought the original score back and they improved upon it in places. My only thing that I can say is that I don't know if I should reveal the ending, and I'm not going to. But there are a couple of little Easter eggs if you know what you're doing. First of all, you have the Captain Kirk mask coming back. You have Carpenter's score. You have Jamie Lee Curtis. You have several homages to actual kills from the original film, twisted a little bit, and even another set of homages to certain things being flipped. The last one I want to talk about, and there might be more, but these are the ones I noticed very clearly. was one more, which was Halloween 3, The Season of the Witch Masks and Costumes. Now, if you ever seen that movie, you'll know those masks pretty well. They pop up in stores every once in a while, especially the pumpkin mask. That mask is iconic. But I saw the skull, the pumpkin, and the witch mask along with the costumes, and I'm like, oh, you cannot. And guess what? It says so in the credits. And that's the other thing. The opening of the film was also very iconic. It says first Halloween, and then it shows what's left of a pumpkin. And the pumpkin, as you saw a little bit, starts to reform. And it's the same pumpkin from the original movie. And, it's gone from being this decayed thing, basically like reverse, stop motion or, time lapse, into, a functional Halloween pumpkin again. This is great. And you're like, wow. Now, originally I had wanted to use a Halloween mask for Michael, but when I went to the store to check them out, they had some, but none of them were of the quality I was hoping for. They all looked really bad, and the couple that did at least look pretty decent and were very easy to get on and off too, by the way, and they all had sunken in faces. They were basically like, it would have taken too long to try to get them to look fine, So I gave up on that. Maybe I'll try again next year. And maybe next year I'll actually get one that's in pretty damn good shape and doesn't feel like it's going to, squeeze my head in. But there was that. This film is great. I can't wait to do more of them because there are still so many of them. And there are also 2 more coming out. So this is great with 2 more films. And I have to be fair. I'm looking forward to this. This movie series has so many different entries, and who knows, I might even just cover the Rob Zombie film next year, one of them. But I'm also looking forward to the sequel to this very much. And by the way, the 4K one is awesome. Hell, the DVD copy alone was beautiful. And remember that I'm watching this on both a 1080p TV and a 4K TV when it's been upscaled. And the DVD was still that damn good. I mean, the Blu-ray... Wow, I can't even think straight right now. The film is so good that I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. That's how good this film is. I highly recommend you watch it, you have fun with it, and hopefully next year we'll be back to talk about the next film in the series and other things. I gotta say, I'm really happy with this film. They did a very good job. I'd like to show no more, but I think that would be a bad idea. You should watch this film for yourself, have fun, and remember, it's Halloween. And by the way, guys, like and subscribe, have fun, all that good stuff, and I will see you later. And peace. Oh, and look out, Michael might be behind you.